Welcome to the Monday, November 17th, 2014 regular meeting agenda of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Kalfayan?
Yes.
Khan?
Here.
Sharkey? Here. Wu?
Present.
President Fuad?
Here. What's next, please? Go ahead.
Sure. It's a report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for the November 17, 2014 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before Friday, November 14, 2014.
Thank you. And what's next?
Item 2, upcoming council agenda items.
Mr. Duran?
Yes, President, filed members of the Commission. Tomorrow, November 18th at 3 o'clock, an afternoon Joint City Council Housing Authority meeting, we will be making a report regarding the status of program planning for the fiscal year 15-16 Community Development Block Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Home Annual Action Plan, which we submit to HUD every year. And we'll be requesting Council and Housing Authority motion to approve the program priorities, the funding allocation plan by funding category, and the issuance of an RFP, a request for proposal, to receive funding applications from the organizations in Glendale. Then at 6 o'clock in the evening, in the City Council meeting, under consent, we will be requesting a resolution authorizing the City Manager to execute a grant agreement for receipt of $360,000 in Housing Parks State grant funds, which would go towards the Palmer Park Improvement Project. And then a second consent calendar item is to request a motion to approve an amendment to a professional services agreement with Vermont Systems to increase their contract by $25,000 for a total contract amount of $98,000 to purchase additional hardware for a new recreation management software program that is being implemented. Then on December 9th in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, under the Economic Development Corporation meeting agenda, we have a resolution of appropriation to appropriate $286,000 in State Department of Education funds from the Glendale Unified School District for a Career Pathways Grant project, which will allow us to work with middle and high schools to focus on high-demand jobs and industries and develop career pathway training programs at the schools. And then also on December 9th at 6 in the evening at the City Council meeting, we are requesting a motion to award a contract for the Fremont Park and Tennis Court lighting and Dunsmore Park lighting projects. So that would be to award a contract for those projects. And that's all that we have on tap as of now.
Thank you. What's next?
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At A, presentation by All for Health, Health for All regarding the GIFT program.
President Fraud and members of Commission, good afternoon and thank you for having me. My name is Astrid Vardanian and I'm the program director at All for Health, Health for All GIFT program. And the GIFT program stands for Glendale Individual and Family Treatment, which is a behavioral health, mental health, behavioral and mental health clinic. You perhaps know the Cedar House, informally called Cedar House, the Glendale Heritage Garden, which is now dedicated to youth programs. GIFT was the brainchild of my late husband, Dr. Arthur Pagosian, who was a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and who was supposed to be the clinical director of the place. Unfortunately, we lost him last year to an accident, and we have been since trying to reorganize the program. Fortunately, we have many of his dedicated friends and colleagues, psychologists, psychiatrists, and educators who have come to help, and we together have been able to put up the program. And we have been operational since last year. The program will be benefiting the community, youth, and parents with a variety of issues such as chemical dependency, addictions, depression, trauma, anxiety, social issues, learning disabilities, and a whole host of other important issues that we come at help. Our vision, together with my husband, was to employ a holistic care, an integrative care to the youth, because my husband actually was the first Armenian physician in the area, I think the first in general, who was holistically certified. And he envisioned to integrate many different aspects to achieve well-being, not just to cure the disease or to attend the symptoms, but to employ variety of aspects to maintain health and well-being. So to continue his vision, we have variety of programs here, recreational activities such as on-site culinary and health living classes, meditation, yoga or qigong, art and music therapy, therapeutic games and hands-on learning activities, etc. We would like to also, I want to mention also that the program will be dedicated to his memory, and we would like to create whatever he envisioned and to carry on the program. So on top of the mainstream allopathic method, we want to bring on this holistic alternative treatments to youth and their families. Myself being a medical anthropologist, I believe in prevention versus spending millions of dollars on treatment. And prevention to me starts early in childhood, not just youth programs. Those youth have been traumatized early in childhood. And when I say childhood, I mean starting from birth. And myself being very much interested in childbirth and childbirth to create the birth as natural as possible, free of traumas, free of extreme use of interventions and drugs, which then translate into mental and behavioral and physiological disorders and diseases. That's my focus. Children who have come to this world heavily drugged, coming to this world through mothers who have been heavily drugged and who have been formula fed, left to cry it out, who have been victims of this detachment parenting style, of course manifest whole host of mental and emotional diseases, disorders later in life. So when I talk about prevention, that's what I mean, early childhood. So I myself bring that into the GIFT program, and I'm hoping to not only educate parents to undo the damage, but also to be able to outreach the youth that we're serving to become better parents in future, and to have that beautiful vision of parenting and to prepare them and to help them, guide them, to support them later in life. I believe that if these youth, even traumatized, if they can become better parents themselves, a lot of their trauma can be undone. That's my vision. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Duran.
Mr. President, fellow commissioners, if I may provide a little bit more background and context to this program. 2 or 3 months ago, we were making some cuts to the city budget, including our department's budget. And one of the things that we proposed was to consolidate our youth and family services program from the Heritage Park Cedar House operation to the Pacific Park Community Center. So we did that, and we vacated the Cedar House and received City Council approval to issue a request for proposals to see if we can get another youth service provider to operate programs out of that vacated Cedar House. We were fortunate enough that All for Health for All submitted a proposal. They were the only proposer, and they proposed their idea of the GIFT program, and they gave a very dynamic presentation. And so we feel that this is one example of where we were able to take what looked like a negative into a positive, and we were able to consolidate one program and at the same time expand and increase youth programs in our community by bringing this program into Cedar House. And it is a mental health counseling program, which is very much needed and in demand in this country today. So we're very thrilled that they are operating that program. And we thought it was timely to make the presentation today because they only began operating a couple of months ago. They're settled in now, and things are really taking off, since we wanted the commission to benefit from their status report. So
what are the financial arrangements?
The financial arrangements are that they pay $500 a month for rent, which is just what it costs us to keep that building open. So it's a good deal.
How much do they charge for patients? How?
Sorry.
Well, All for Health, Health for All is a federally qualified health center, so we do not charge anything to our patients. We serve both medical population as well as indigent population. So anyone who walks in, we are serving them.
How do you treat drug-related?
Well, we have a volunteer group, people who have been in drug and addiction programs for a long time. And fortunately, they are at this time they're serving as volunteers. And we're not yet operating in our fullest potential, and we're heavily relying on our volunteer basis. So they are trained counselors, and if we need to refer them out to psychiatric care, that's what we're doing. We have an MOU with Pacific Clinics, and we do not have an on-staff psychiatrist, but if there is a need for a further counseling or a consultation, medical consultation, we're referring them out.
Do you work with rehab centers like local or Los Angeles area?
Not yet, but again, we are just starting the program. It's very young, and we have 2 providers yet, licensed social psychologists. But if we need to, we are at least referring them out to Pacific Clinic if the case is complicated and we cannot handle more than our capacity allows.
Thank you.
You had mentioned. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You had mentioned that anybody that walks up,
Yes.
you guys would serve. So when are you guys open? Like, what are your hours of operation?
Well, we are open 4 days a week for now. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and we're looking into hiring a licensed social worker to fill out the other hours.
And so from what time to what time are you open?
9 to 5, mainly.
So you had said that you offer these services at no cost.
Yes.
People that walk in.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a specific age range that you guys serve, or?
Well, because this is a youth and family program, I would say no. But our focus is youth, of course.
So it could be as young as a toddler all the way up to?
Well, our focus would be from 12 to 19, the teenage years. But since it's a family program. Any age is acceptable. Right now, a lot of clients who are coming to us are patients referred by the other sites of All for Health, Health for All. And not all of them are youth, of course. But we're not limiting. We're focusing on youth programs, but not limiting to it.
Have you guys had a chance to visit with Glendale Unified School District to let them know of the type of services you guys offer?
Not yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 4, commission staff comments.
Any comments from the...
I have a comment. I have a request from the staff for a permanent pickleboard court in Glendale, if we can locate one. Not a portable one, but permanent, if we can. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. It's a combination of tennis, ping pong, and badminton, and is played with paddle that is slightly larger than ping pong paddle, and plastic ball that is similar to a wiffle. The court looks like a tennis court, but is only one third of the size, usually played by 4 players. And it's attracted by active adults that they want to slow down. Instead of running or playing other sports, they are into racquetball. If we can look into it, if we have a...
As President filed, Commissioner Kalfayan, we will certainly look into that. We have, how many tennis courts in Glendale? 23 tennis courts.
33.
Okay, 33 tennis courts in the city of Glendale. There is a demand. Sometimes we get complaints that tennis courts are being used for non-tennis sports or games. But it's been brought to our attention that pickleball is a growing sport, and maybe there's a way that we could designate one or a couple of courts in the city of Glendale to accommodate a pickleball. Maybe there's a way where during the non-peak hours, maybe in the middle of the day, and especially if it's the majority of players might be older adults, they've got the time in the middle of the day, and it could be geared up and lines painted for pickleball. And then maybe in the evenings it could be opened up for regular tennis. But we'll look into it, and we'll come back with a report.
A name like pickleball. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, that's right. Staff, any staff comments?
Yes, President Fuad, members of the Commission. I would like to take this opportunity to announce several events and activities that will be taking place between now and the next Commission meeting in December. Since October 27th and through November 21st, the Human Services section is running a Thanksgiving food drive, Get Creative campaign. City employees from all departments are decorating gift bags and filling them with non-perishable food items to be delivered to homebound seniors the week of Thanksgiving. Should you wish to participate, please contact John McGogian at 818-548-3774. Thursday, November 20th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Club Maple is having their Thanksgiving celebration at Maple Park Community Center. Thursday, November 27th and Friday, November 28th, all city offices will be closed in observance of Thanksgiving. Sunday, November 30th at 8 a.m., there will be a turkey trot cross presented by Montrose Bike Shop. This is not a city-sponsored event, but it is a large event taking place at Verdugo Park. Wednesday, December 3rd, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., the city will be having its holiday tree lighting event at Perkins Plaza. Sunday, December 6th, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., we have a Trails and Open Space event, Bird Walk on the River Walk. From 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., also on December 6th, the Montrose Christmas Parade. From 6 p.m. to 12 a.m., also on December 6th, Glendale Fight Night 6 will be taking place at the Civic Auditorium. On December 11th, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., there will be a Riverwalk community meeting at PCC, that's Pacific Community Center, Gymnasium. Friday, December 12th through Sunday, December 14th, the Glendale Beautiful invites you to the Fiesta de las Luminarias at Casa Adobe de San Rafael. And on Monday, December 15th, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. We are back here in the council chambers for another Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission meeting.
A lot going on. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, are those listed on our website, like if we go to parks?
They are.
That was a lot.
They are not all currently
Well, I understand that.
there, but I would be happy to email the commission the events. They're posted on the website maybe a couple of weeks in advance or a few weeks in advance.
Okay.
So maybe not the whole month at a time, but
Right, because that was a lot.
I will definitely forward.
That would be
email
great.
All of you.
I'm
those.
especially interested in the Maple Park
Okay. I will send you information about
party. Thank you.
What's next, please?
Item 5 is oral communications. I don't have any cards.
Next, then?
Item 6, consent items. At A is approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held on August 18, 2014.
I'd make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I'll second it.
And alter it.
Commissioners Kalfayan,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Sharkey,
Yes.
Wu,
Yes.
President Fuad.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 7, business agenda, A, action items. At 1, motion to note and file a report regarding the development of an after-school youth sports program with GUSD and Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation.
Okay, President Fuad, members of the commission, in your package you'll find a report regarding an after-school recreation and sports program that we're developing. About a year ago, staff met with GUSD Assistant Superintendent, directors from the Early Education Extended Learning Program, and principals to discuss an after-school youth sports program collaboration to develop a low-cost or free recreation after-school program targeting elementary school students south of the 134. When we met with them, we asked where our department can fill in the gaps or where we can come in and provide recreational programming to students that aren't part of their after-school program. They have the ACES program, the LINKS program, and so on. So the students that aren't involved in any after-school program and they just walk home, we want to target those students and provide some programming. So when we met with GUSD, they requested to have some sort of organized sports programming, intramural competition among schools, and recreation programming. We gave them a few different program options, and one being the sports program. We would concentrate on 4 sports, flag football, soccer, volleyball, basketball. For the students that aren't involved or aren't interested in organized competitive sports, we would provide them with arts and crafts and education enrichment, a sports and cheer program to get more, school spirit among the 4 elementary schools, having like a cheerleading program, and also youth CrossFit training. What they picked was the sports program, the recreation program. So sports program being the football, soccer, volleyball, basketball, and a smaller version of youth CrossFit training. I know we all see the adult CrossFit. There's some stores on brand in Montreal Shopping Park where they run out of the stores and with their weights and going up and down the stairs. We want to do something similar, but with youth. And recreation programming consisting of arts and crafts, education, enrichment for students not interested in competitive sports. And while we were, going back and forth talking about programming, we opened it up to Glendale Outdoors, the GO program, which is a program sponsored by the Glendale Open Space Foundation. They meet once every couple months. They pick up kids from Pacific Community Center and Maple Park Community Center, take them up to Duke-Majan Wilderness Park, and have a half-a-day hike, lecture on Glendale Outdoors. The program details, we would like to target 4th and 5th graders from Cerritos, Saman, Marshall, and Edison. The reason why we pick these 4 schools is they have the restroom facilities after school. Logistically, it'll be much easier for city staff to go on site and teach the kids, the sport or conduct arts and crafts and so on. We would use Glendale Unified sites for practices, and then for the tournaments, we would use city facilities. We'd use Pacific Community Center for basketball, the multi-use, the artificial turf field for soccer, flag football, or even go up to Civic Auditorium and use the indoor soccer facilities for soccer. We need to hire 8 recreation leaders, hourly city employees for 500 youth, 2 employees per site, Monday through Thursday till about 4:30. So depending on when school lets out, between 2 and 2:30, it'll be 2 hours a day for 4 days a week. The program cost for option 1 is a 4 8-week session totaling of 32 weeks. Total cost would be $131,000. The in-kind from the city, from our department, would be $33,000 for program supervision. We would have one of our youth program supervisors and an hourly recreation program specialist supervising the 8 recreation leaders. We were awarded, Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation was awarded $20,000 from Dignity Health the last month, and we're working on additional funding through LA County Office of Education. Going back to Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation, they are committed to $5,000 for the Glendale Outdoors. Yeah.
Glendale Parks and Open Space is meeting Wednesday, so hopefully we'll be able to add more funds to
yes.
it. So.
That's one of my next slides. We're meeting with Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation Wednesday morning. Actually, Commissioner Sharkey, this is exactly the same slide. This is exactly the same slide, Commissioner Sharkey, not slide, same PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be presenting to the board. So you're getting a sneak peek. Unfunded for option 1 is $73,244. $73,000 is a large chunk, so we have an option 2 to cut it down to 3 8-week sessions totaling of 24 weeks. Total cost is $98,000. Continue with in-kind from the city of $33,000. Using Dignity Health grant of $20,000. Unfunded would be $40,000. $40,000 is much doable to meet our goal by July or August of 2015 to fully fund the program by then. And the benefits of after-school programming, we want to target the children who are alone and unsupervised after school. We see a lot of kids walking home alone, hanging out, watching TV after school, playing video games, walking to, their convenience store and, eating the junk food. We want to promote the skills, build confidence, reduce juvenile crime, and promote healthy lifestyles and reduce childhood obesity. One thing that the recreation section is doing too is partnering up with Glendale Adventist Medical Center, their healthcare foundation, and they've received a grant from LA County First 5 to provide free nutritional classes and programming and healthy cooking classes to the residents in Glendale. So they're meeting on a weekly basis at Pacific Community Center, Maple Park, and Spar Heights, and during our Tot Time program, and they're teaching the caregivers, older siblings, on how to cook, how to eat healthy, and so on. So we're going to have the same instructors teach the kids that are part of this program on healthy eating and so on. Any questions?
First of all, I think it's a great idea. I mean, this is something that makes a lot of sense. You showed that it's for 4th and 5th graders from these schools. Why just 4th and 5th graders?
Because the schools have a program. Well, I remember when we met with Cerritos Elementary had a program for 4th and 5th graders. So the principals asked just to keep it at 4th and 5th so we can get a commitment, because less of the 4th and 5th graders are part of the after-school programming, the GUSD after-school programming, whereas the 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders tend to sign up for their after-school ACES program or EELP programs. So we don't want to be conflicting with Glendale Unified. on their after-school programming.
So those schools don't go to 6th and elementary, they stop at 5th?
One of them goes to 6th, but if we have one elementary school at a 6th grade, then we need to work with Roosevelt because they start at 6th also. So now we're going into the junior highs. We want to, and junior highs have their intramurals. They have intramurals between the junior highs, and we don't want to compete with their intramural program.
Okay, thank you.
And also, this is a pilot program, so hopefully, if successful, which I'm sure will be depending on funding, we would like to request from the city to fund the program in 2016, 2017, and going forward. So depending on funding, hopefully we'll open it up to 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders.
Okay, thank you.
What kind of programs are available for kids when they get off from school? I understand they leave 3 o'clock usually.
Right now at our community centers, we have our drop-in programming where the kids can sign up for an activity card. They can come in, play in the rec room. We have ping pong, table tennis, foosball, pool. We also have our basketball program, dodgeball programs, and so on, or they can use our artificial turf soccer field at Pacific. So all of our community centers, the 4 community centers, have the drop-in programming. As for contract classes, which is a pay-as-you-go class, we have those classes too, which are after 5 o'clock Monday through Friday.
They don't have any homeworks to study?
The homework help. The good thing is, especially like at Pacific, we do have the library that has homework help. Maple Park and Spar Heights community centers, they do have the after-school club that is free of charge. The kids can come over from Fremont Elementary if it's at Spar Heights, or at Maple Park if it's from Horace Mann. They come in and they can sit down and
Not a conflict between the study and the...
Not at all. No. It won't be a conflict.
No pickleball till you do your homework.
Yeah.
Thank you. If there's no more questions or comments, next.
This is actually an action item. We're asking for a motion to be made to note and file the report.
Hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to note and file the report.
I
Need a second? Okay.
Yes, please.
There's the second.
Seconded.
Commissioners Kalfayan,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Sharkey,
Yes.
Wu,
Yes.
President Fuad.
Yes. Next item?
Item 7A2, motion to note and file a report regarding the restructuring of the Park Services section.
Good afternoon, President Fuad, the members of the Commission. A couple of years ago, we were here talking about reorganizing the Park Services section, and we at that time said we'll be, operating, evaluating, and as needed, modulating our approach to service to ensure, the optimum level of service delivered to our residents. We find ourselves at another crosslinks that we felt there is a need for restructuring. To get to the restructuring and the objectives and the reasons why we were proposing that is over the past 6 years, we have actually experienced quite a bit of staffing reductions, about 31%. Equates to 22 full-time positions ranging from managers, supervisors, gardeners, office staff, technical people like equipment operators, pesticide applicators. So essentially when one of those positions became vacant over the past 6 or 7 years, it was held vacant, then essentially eliminated to realize savings in the budget. We've also had recent separations. We lost a senior building repair who was our irrigation tech, as well as one of our gardeners, and further kind of put a challenge on our ability to deliver the service at the levels we'd like to. And of course, with the workforce as we are and working our staff as hard as we do, we experience industrial injuries that further limit our ability. We, of course, have had budget limitations when it came to tree maintenance and open space. The open space programming of the park rangers over the past few years were eliminated. So we are tasked to take on that challenge. Funding is, of course, a challenge. We've had inconsistency in our mowing frequencies as staff gets to be pulled from that task and be assigned to other facilities of things that may have been deferred or projects and or if staff is not available. We continue to have a very high demand for our services and very high level expectation by our staff to deliver. Renovations, we continue to be challenged with field renovations, landscape renovations, as well as special events. Our staff do kind of do the background services for a lot of the special events and help out our colleagues around the city. As well as when we get new parks that are developed in the past couple of years, there have been unfunded maintenance costs for those new facilities. So we continue to be challenged to deliver the services with limited resources. Although we have in the past couple of years taken advantage of some opportunities that presented themselves, we've adjusted to the new staffing levels. We created routes. This was the presentation some of you may remember from a couple of years ago. We now created routes where staff is no longer stationed in their parks. They are on a route, more like in a contract setting. They'll go open the park, take care of it, and move on to the next park. We developed the team structures along the same time. We obviously had to reduce our frequencies with less staff. It's difficult to deliver the same level of service, so the frequencies have to be reduced in a lot of our tasks, whether it be mowing or hardscape maintenance. With all of that, we're able to maintain a reasonably acceptable levels of service, but we can always do better. So we always look at the operation and find opportunities to improvise and run it more efficiently. One of the things we did was we contracted all the medians and the libraries. They used to be under our maintenance responsibilities. If you recall, last time we came to you with the contract maintenance option, we listed all the medians and the libraries on the contract, so we're able to take those responsibilities away from our staff, put it on the contractors, so freeing the staff to be focusing their energies and resources more in the parks where we believe they should be spending their time. Additionally, Stengel Field, you do recall we turned the operation responsibility of Stengel Field over to Glendale Unified, and that has helped us a bit in pulling those staff and assigning to other ball fields and other facilities. We have found ourselves being more involved in the planning and development of the parks, which is beneficial for both parties. We can give them more input ahead of time in the design concept, and when at the end the parks are designed, they're a bit more sustainable when it comes to the maintenance based on our needs and our standards that we have in play. Example of such would be the artificial turf at the Pacific Community Center. It reduced the need for us to have to mow it, fertilize it, aerate it, water it. Rather than spending all the labor hours on that field, it's now reduced to just grooming the field. So there's a added benefit of having that field put in play. Another example I haven't listed here, for example, would be the playgrounds. When the playgrounds are being newly constructed, rather than going the surfacing material that used to be the fly bar, the staff had to rake, level, and make sure it's in the appropriate fall zones. We've gone into the recycled rubberized surfacing, which is a highly accepted ADA approved surfacing that reduces the amount of time staff have to be on the playgrounds doing the leveling. They just have to check the playground for safeties. So all those little actions we've taken have helped us reduce the need for our staff in those areas. Replace turf with the landscapes and drought-tolerant plants. One example I had mentioned last time, the Metropolitan Water District has a turf replacement program where if you remove turf, they will actually pay you $2 a square foot to be able to re-landscape the area with drought-tolerant landscaping. I'm happy to actually report today that our report for request for sports complex was recently, as a matter of fact, today was approved. So we'll be making some adjustment to some of the turf areas at the sports complex and gaining $2 a square foot from the Metropolitan Water District to help pay for that project. Of course, it'll also help us reduce our water conservation, reduce the consumption. Lastly, we were able to reclassify our laborers and gardeners. And here's how that helped out. This was a key in our ability to be able to restructure. We reclassified our laborers to groundskeepers, gardeners to groundskeeper, and senior gardeners to groundskeeper. The latter two were just merely a change in their title. We did not change their scope of work, as it was fairly clear as to what needed to be done. When it came to the laborers, we were restricted in our ability to use them. In terms of scheduling, one of the key examples, the scope included the requirement that they be very closely supervised. And these are adults, they're trained, they should need to be closely supervised. So in terms of having them work by themselves at different facilities, we had somewhat of a restriction in our ability. It wasn't as flexible. We're able to add additional responsibilities to them. Areas that said assist in doing certain tasks, we were able to change the classification to say that they will now be doing these tasks. Ability to restructure became evident once we were able to conclude the reclassification. It created our ability to more efficiently supervise and be able to develop these employees that now we have a more classical groundskeeper to senior groundskeeper, more of a methodology in their recruitment and ability to be able to promote. So the objective in restructuring, once we're able to assign these staff at their respective facilities without having to closely supervise and pair them up with the groundskeeper twos, it's going to allow us to focus on our core missions, safety and well-maintained parks and public places. It is going to allow for efficiency in our operations because we're looking at building our team around a specific mode of service delivery. We're building teams based on the strengths and the staff that we have. And we believe this is going to be improving our service delivery and definitely the flexibility in our staffing in such that now we, as I get to it, will have more staff in a specific section to be able to divert to areas of need if staff calls in sick or if we have people on vacation. We won't run into a lot of the hassles that we ran into in trying to get facilities open and serviced in a timely manner. So what are we proposing? Effective November 1, 2014, we actually started this a couple of weeks ago. We will no longer have 3 sections. If you recall, we were divided geographically into 3 sections, and each section was responsible for a specific geographic area of the city for maintenance. Well, we're shying away from that now and keeping it into 2 sections, splitting the city northeast and then southwest. The hub of operation for the northeast, which will be section 1, is going to be Verdugo Park, and then the hub for section 2 will be Brand Park, as we currently have them. And then what we've created from this is a project section, and that project section is going to be based out of the Parks Corporation yard. I will get to the project section because that is the biggest efficiency mechanism that we're able to pull from this concept. If you look at the map, the red line divides the city in half. We have the parks in section 1 that are north and east, and as we had mentioned, the parks in section 2, southwest. The list of the parks are identified, and they are in the attachment. Essentially, we have about, I believe, 19 facilities in section 1. Now, these are the larger facilities located in the northern section. So 19 parks equate to about 151 acres for maintenance for that section. Similar to section 2, although section 2 has the smaller parks, south of the Glendale Freeway or south of the Divide, a lot of our mini parks are located. So they tend to be smaller in size, but the number of the facilities they have to maintain is greater, 26 facilities, which presents within itself challenges just to be able to get to those sites. And that is about 94 acres total maintenance. The project crew. This is the crew that's going to be specifically tasked to take on some of the more special requests and challenges that we have, specifically irrigation. With the loss of our senior building repairer, we only have now 2 irrigation technicians. And being able to divert them, divide them into 3 sections was going to be challenging. One of the reasons why we created 2. We can divert them 1 and 2, and at the same time have a project management crew to oversee them, at the same time work with them in conjunction to make some of the repairs that are needed. So more bodies to help them complete their projects. This project crew is also going to be responsible for the citywide mowing operation, where we have the ride-on mowers, the 6-foot wide mowers, and even the larger mowers that we mow our facilities with. They're going to be responsible for those mowing. Special projects like landscaping. You may have noticed City Hall is going through a nice overhaul with the landscaping, with the MSB in the front, in the Perkins area. This group is working on it as we speak. Just general site improvements, ball field renovations, pressure washing if there is a need for some sites that have, over time with food and grease and gum, they tend to be a need for pressure washing. So we are looking at programming pressure washing back into the mix, maybe a quarterly basis and or when staff is available. As well as we are going to assign this group to do the pesticide herbicide applications in our facilities, work on the special events. If there are any reasons or requests for tree maintenance, emergency, these are the crews that we're going to send out, as well as with our open space and our trails. So this is going to be a crew that is going to be in very high demand for their services. I have attached here the new organizational chart. you will notice that we have the two sections identified. It creates for a tri-level of supervision, where we have each section, section 1 and 2, will have a manager, a supervisor, and a senior groundskeeper to oversee that whole sectional operation, whereas in the past, we had a section that did not have a supervisor, and we had a section that did not have a senior groundskeeper. So this way, each section that has the staffing for the general routine maintenance will have 3 layers of supervision. And the project crew is essentially divided into 3. We have the irrigation crew, we have the mow crew, and then the project crew. Those are the individuals who, more or less, their responsibilities will be the other special projects. Benefits. This will allow us to focus our service delivery in the sense that the sections that are responsible for the general maintenance can focus on the general maintenance, and if there is a project request for their facility, they don't have to pull staff from their other facilities and assign them to the project. The one individual assigned to that facility can help the project crew. At least the other guys will be able to stay within their facilities and not be impacted by the projects. The crew will get out there, the project crew, and work with the assigned staff for that facility in getting delivering the service. Allow our efficiency in our scheduling. Like I said, if people do call in sick, now we're able to move more bodies around within that respective section and be able to target those needs. Address our core mission, safety and well-maintained parks, public places. Consistency in our mowing. This is still going to be somewhat challenging with the one of our mow guys right now currently is out, but the 2 guys that we have, we are being challenged to stay on top of the mowing. Frequencies will probably still stay the same. We do every other week mowing in most of our facilities. In the spring and summer times, we're still going to attempt to mow the ball fields at a higher frequency because of the play. It requires it weekly. Winter time, we tend to slow down a little bit, as in the cold, the grass is not going to grow as fast. So we are right now trying to figure out what that specific plan is going to be in the mowing going forward. This will allow us, again, to address tree maintenance and open space needs. If we have concerns in the trails or to get ready for a future trail run or an event, I know which staff I will have to devote to that specific task, the specific project now. Again, building on the strengths of staff, one of our managers is our ball field specialist. He is being placed in Section 1, where 90% of our ball fields are found. Sports Complex, Scholl Ball Field, Dunsmore, and Verdugo. All those ball fields are now split to be in the Section 1, where we have placed the manager, the senior gardener, who are more the ball field savvy staff that we have on our staff. Placement of bodies within larger parks. We were challenged with that. For example, Pacific Community Center years back had a senior groundskeeper at the time, senior gardener, and a gardener assigned to it. With all the changes and shuffles, we have now a gardener and a laborer that were maintaining Pacific Community Center and 4 mini parks at the same time. And that was very difficult to ask all those staff to be able to manage all 5 facilities. Now the goal is we will be able to split the 2. The laborer, who is now a groundskeeper, will be able to maintain the mini parks, and then the gardener will be stationed, the groundskeeper too, will be stationed at Pacific Community Center so he can improve his ability to deliver the service as needed. And at the same time, if there's ever a need, then we'll pull him out. So his routine will be being placed in that facility, and only as needed, emergencies being pulled out. That's one of the goals for us, to be able to improve delivery of service at these facilities. Again, section staffing is going to allow for flexibility. This might even result in a possible reduction of our fleet and equipment costs. It might take a little bit of while. We'll analyze to see if there is a need for the number of equipment that we have. If there is an equipment comes out to be turned back in for replacement, we may not need it. So we'll evaluate as we go along, reduce our fleet because of having the specialized individuals focusing and managing some of the tasks that would be assigned. Structure, supervision, and leadership. It's going to allow our staff to more directly work with the field staff and being able to show them, to lead them, and teach them as they go in their respective responsibilities. With the senior gardener freeing up to be able to do that, it's definitely going to be a benefit for our staff and for the city. It will also allow for increased opportunity for interaction, and truly believe this is going to be a cost-effective maintenance approach. That is essentially it. It's not going to be a smooth ride. We're always going to run some challenges as we go forward, but we're looking at it very closely. We'll be evaluating it and making minor changes to make it as efficient as we can.
Questions or comments?
It's probably hard to tell, but how is staff responding to this? Do you get a feel that for example, a laborer to a groundskeeper, that he or she has more
They do.
responsive? Is it being well received, or can you tell yet? You said it's a
Yes,
challenge.
President Fuad, members of the commission, that challenge in promoting the laborers to groundskeeper, it was a promotional process, and it actually did allow for an increase in their pay to take on those additional responsibilities. So staff accepted it very happily, as some of them were already working in that realm. So they accepted the promotional opportunity to groundskeeper very happily. In making a change such as the structural change we proposed, change is always difficult to implement, but staff, we had a meeting with staff prior to the implementation, and they understand. They understand the reason why we have to do it, and staff so far the last 2 weeks have been eager to try and make this thing work. Specifically, our project crew right now that has been working heavily in getting City Hall up and running with the new landscape and tackling other challenges, the other crew staff, they understand that now they don't have to worry about these specialized projects. They're happier to be focusing on their facilities and being able to deliver a better service, better facility, and start taking pride that they're not being constantly pulled out of their facility and they can actually devote their time at their respective sites. So again, it's a wait and see type of a deal, but so far it seems that it's being accepted well by staff, and each one of them is going to have to step up to the plate.
Okay. Thank you. It's encouraging.
It's a challenging aspect we have, but do you have a program for them to train them, to get them up there, challenges?
Yes, Commissioner Kalfayan, the idea is to allow for the senior groundskeeper to work closely with these staff. With the groundskeeper 1 level, they do have the skill sets, but not to be able to get to the groundskeeper 2 level for some of them yet. And that's going to come by the crew leader going to the sites, working with them in plant identification, what the plants are needed, more horticultural stuff to get them ready for the next step. Our goal still tends to be to allow for training opportunities on, for example, on mowers. A lot of staff have not had the opportunity to be trained on the mowers. The goal continues to be to train them on large-scale operational needs, which of course comes with funding necessities and the time to be set aside for those. But yes, we're working on a plan to be able to train all the staff that you can take any one of our staff and place them at any facility and they will be able to perform and deliver.
What is the department's overtime policy?
President Fuad, we currently don't have funding for overtime, and if there is emergencies, only on emergency basis, that managers reach out to me for approval for overtime to be able to deliver that. Given that there's a lack of funding, I don't quite have an overtime approach on issues. Only as emergencies arise.
You can't say yes.
It has to be case-by-case basis. And if the case is so that you cannot wait till the next day, it is an absolute emergency when we approve that work to be completed. Such as with irrigation. At times I've had to approve my staff to add another hour to their shift to complete an irrigation project because we have to get the water, we have to, for example, the main line fixed and get the water back online for the facility for the following day and the rest of the day.
And I noticed you had a couple of layers of supervisors in each unit. I assume supervisors actually do work as well as supervise?
Yes, Commissioner Fuad. Fortunately or unfortunately, over the past couple of years with the loss of our pesticide applicator, with the loss of equipment operator, our supervisors and managers are skilled on those fields, and not a lot of our classifications allow for those applications or the tasks. We do have a lot of our managers, supervisors, senior groundskeepers actually are technically working supervisors, senior gardeners, and managers. So they do work alongside staff to be able to address that. For example, our current supervisor for one of our sections acts as our pesticide applicator because that was his forte. And not having a pesticide applicator, we relied heavily on him to deliver that service and be able to manage or supervise the staff in that section. Same with the manager. A contract administrative position we lost a couple of years back, so he has the responsibility of managing the whole section, all the facility staff, as well as 125 landscape contract sites. So each one of our guys is being challenged to the limit.
On any given park, is there sort of one person who is responsible for that park? I know that people are floating around, I understand that, but is there sort of one person who says, what happens at Brand Park or Verdugo Park? I'm sort of the go-to guy, and I'm sort of in charge of the things that might otherwise fall through the cracks?
the buck ultimately stops at my office and at my desk. Although with the supervisors and managers that we have, those are different layers. The goal is to have each one of our facility staff, each one of our staff will be assigned a set of facilities, either via a team, a crew of 2, and or individually. So we will have each facility assigned staff for those respective facilities that we know if there is a need to address maintenance issues, those are the staff that we go to. But layers of supervision for Section 2, it will be ultimately the manager for that section, and then for Section 1 will be the same, the manager. That should have overall oversight, and respectively, the staff within those sections will have their parks assigned facilities that will be able to closely monitor more, and with their specific assignment, be able to make sure they fill the gaps.
Jeff?
As President Faust, so in answer to your question, the go-to person is more at the management level versus the assigned gardener level or assigned supervisor level. That's the way we've, over time, reorganized and morphed from gardeners being assigned to specific parks that they went to every day, and the park patrons got to know them and they got to know each other, and so it's different now, unfortunately.
Staff reductions, yeah. If there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to, file and approve? Or note and file?
So I make a motion to restructure the park and service section.
Second.
And just to be clear, it's a motion to note and file, is that correct?
Aye.
Correct.
Commissioners Kalfayan,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Sharkey,
Yes.
Wu,
Yes.
President Fuad.
Yes. Next, please.
7A3, motion directing staff regarding the rescheduling of the January and February 2015 Commission regular meetings.
Okay.
President Fuad, members of the Commission, as you may be aware, the regularly scheduled meetings for January 19th and February 16th, 2015 fall on holidays. That would be the Martin Luther King Day and President's Day, respectively. So staff respectfully recommends that you reschedule the meetings. We have provided 2 or 3 options for each meeting. For January 2015, we have identified 2 options, Monday, January 12th, or Monday, January 26th. So it would be the Monday prior or the Monday after the regularly scheduled date.
This is, and so February, if you do a late January, you probably want to do a late February and vice versa. Would that?
That would probably be our
Thanks.
preference, but it is up to you.
Any comments on scheduling? I'm flexible personally.
Early January, and then we'll do late February.
As long as
I'm not going skiing, so that should be fine.
Unless there's nothing really pending or that we should meet, we might combine the 2.
That is another option that you have. Correct.
Maybe on February 9th, and that would be for,
Yeah, I like that.
I'd second that.
I like that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, less is more.
yeah, so, okay, well,
So I guess we would say when we do February 9th, have combined the 2 meetings, unless, something
if
urgent comes up.
something urgent comes up,
But
we could
otherwise, let's do
discuss it
one on
on
the 9th.
February 9th.
Sure. So then
Late
you're,
January then, late January,
Well, you could do late January or February 9th.
either one.
so then your motion would be to cancel the January, I guess it would be to cancel the January meeting and to,
Well, I would propose February 9th, if that's okay with you.
Okay,
Are we meeting on December?
yes.
we
Well,
do
so
we do
far,
have a
yeah.
Yes, President Fowd, members of the commission, as of now, we actually have 2 action items that we will need your direction on. So we would like to meet in December, and that would be December 15th. That'll be a very important
Okay,
meeting.
well, so let's, maybe want to make a motion for the February 9th only and cancel the January meeting?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we meet on February 9th and cancel January meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioners Kalfayan,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Sharkey,
Yes,
Wu,
Yes.
President Fuad.
Yes.
I have a question. Is this only the holidays that we'll be not meeting on Mondays because of holidays through the
Yes.
year?
Yes, I will double check, but My understanding is that, yes, just the January, February meetings. And that's every year. They always fall on the third Monday of the month, so.
Okay, next, please, item.
Next item is 7B, reports for information only at 1 Youth and Family Services Annual Report.
Good afternoon, President Fod, members of the Commission, department staff. My name is Walter Alvarez, and I am the supervisor for the Youth and Family Services Program and also hyphenate Teen Services at Pacific Community Center. I'd like to start off by just a brief introduction of the program so you get an idea of where the program has been and where it is now. This program was developed back in 2001. It's been operating primarily out of the our old office at Glendale Heritage Garden. Prior to that, there used to be some bungalows there, so I used to also operate in those existing homes back in the days before the project was developed. And once that project developed, that became our home. Youth and Family Services operated out of that site for approximately 5 years. It was an ideal location for the most part because it was a non-threatening environment for the teens. It was an actual coming home. So the kids referred to it as the help house a lot of times more than the Cedar House or Heritage Garden. It was actually the help house. Kids would say, this is where we come and get help. So it was an ideal location, but unfortunately with changes and restructuring, the program was transferred over to Pacific Community Center approximately a year and a half ago. There's always drawbacks and there's always positives to every side. So what I found with the positive of going to Pacific Community Center is that we have the opportunity to provide teen services, more teen programming there at Pacific. So we kind of added that element in our Youth and Family Services program. So it was great for us to be there now. We have restructured. We did go through some challenges because, again, the environment is a big community center. A lot of teams get overwhelmed by visiting a community center versus going to a home environment like the Cedar House was. Again, the Youth and Family Services program has a few components. First of all, it's the youth outreach component, which by part the staff, myself, go out to the community and try to get the kids to be part of this program. Because it is a social service program, it's not something the kids are jumping for to come and be part of. So it's always going to do outreach, working with Glendale Unified School District, our Pasadena Juvenile Court, probation officers stationed out of the high schools, as well as any other community partners, the nonprofit sector that they could refer to us and we could help. The other component is the case management, which is on a need basis, basically targeting kids who are high risk, who have many needs, whether they're failing school, involved in drugs, bad home environment. We try to kind of address the issues with the parents, with the family, and develop case plans and try to reach goals by every 3 months increments or 6 month increments to try to address the issues and meeting with the families, meeting with the schools, and all the other partners involved in this effort. The other component is the information and referrals. Basically, the residents want to get linked to programs and services out there in the community. Sometimes they don't know where to go. They'll just call the city directly. And usually we'll get those calls referred to us, whether it's the city clerks, whether it's our own department. They'll refer those calls to us and we'll link them. We're very efficient in linking them to the services because of our many partners in the community, in the nonprofit sector, the social service sector. It's always about us doing the legwork behind the scenes. So we're talking about working parents having to address the issues of their teens during work hours. They only have 10 minutes, 15-minute breaks. That's what we get when we call sometimes during work hours. So we do a lot of behind-the-scenes work. While they're at work, we're trying to get that link made between the service, whether parenting, education, drug counseling, drug prevention, anything, you name it. I mean, homeless prevention programs, meals, anything we can link to, we will work with the parents and try to provide a direct linkage before we just give them a number and say, here, go ahead and call yourselves. It's very frustrating when we get those blocks of obstacles of either language barrier or time constraints or being put on hold for 15 minutes, which is break time. So we really go out of our way to link, do the information referrals. We also put together our social services resource directory, which is on our department's website. It's updated yearly. We work with interns, college interns from CSUN. They come in and we go through the whole directory and we update it each year, basically making sure all the numbers match up, all the websites are being able to hyperlink to the resource, as well as fax numbers and service levels, whether they've cut a service or increased a service. The directory gets updated yearly by interns from Cal State Northridge. The other two components we added this past year, meaning fiscal year 13-14, is ADJUST. We called it the ADJUST program, Juvenile Ultimatum Services Training. It's taking kids who need to comply with community service through the court mandates. We take an approach where we're teaching kids a lesson. It's not just about a punishment anymore. It's really corrective approach, a therapeutic approach to this dilemma they're in. It focuses on restorative justice, corrective and restorative justice, competency development, community protection, and community understanding. It's just the punishment has to fit the crime, and they have to understand why they're caught up in this, how to not get involved in it again, and why. Have pride in the community. So that component is working really well. We've partnered with LA Volunteer LA program and the Glendale Superior Court. So anytime those kids go through the court program, they get referred to us. And so we'll work with them to try to get that mandate completed, but also addressing a long-term issue, or try to nip it in the bud before it becomes worse when they reach adulthood and they can't erase any of this record anymore. So that's the one component. The other one is, like I said, the hyphenated recreation programming. We've been able to get kids involved in more participate in more organized sports. It is a drop-in center, but sometimes kids need that mentor there or that referee there to, call attention to the game. Sometimes kids say, "Oh, they're cheating," or "They're doing this," or "They're doing that." Well, you need an adult present, and it really helps them have more fun. It's more organized. So we've hosted 3-on-3 basketball tournaments, basketball skills competition, drop-in dodgeball. Anything that the kids say they want to do, we kind of focus it on. It's not about us. We're kind of behind the scenes with them now in regards to understanding their needs. So the teens, we watch what they need. We throw out a survey and we ask. And so they'll come back and say, "We want to do this." So we focus on providing what they want. The numbers last year in case management, we served 8 youth. In case management, we provided services to 8 youth. That's more intensive, so the number's a little low. The other one was the JUST, because we started last year. We had 8 kids participate in that program as well and complete the program. And we have cross-training for teens as well. We got an average attendance of 8 kids per session, and that went about 12-week program, that curriculum that we went through, and the kids participated very actively. And the drop-in, the basketball tournament was 32 youth. The 3-on-3 basketball was 20 youth, and then we had the skills competition, 21 youth who participated throughout the year. So, again, I'm happy to be at Pacific. It's a great opportunity to kind of catch more kids and get them more involved. And if we can't provide the service, there are resources out in the community, so we'll send them out to YMCA or other programs they may be interested in. That's what I have for today. If there's any questions.
Any questions?
I do want to say I've seen Walter in action, and he has such a passion to redirect these kids. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharkey.
Yeah, no, your enthusiasm is evident, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Next,
Have a good day.
please. Thank you. Next.
7B2, Glendale Youth Alliance, GYA, Summer Youth Employment Program.
President Fadden and Commissioners, in case you haven't noticed, this is kind of a youth report day.
I'm already feeling younger.
Good afternoon. My name is Karina Grigorian. I'm the Community Development Supervisor overseeing the Glendale Youth Alliance. For the past 21 years, Glendale Youth Alliance has been providing youth employment programs to the youth of our community. Our mission is to provide, coordinate, and support youth employment activities, efforts, and programs that have a positive impact on Glendale area youth. Youth are off the streets, they're reducing crime rates and becoming productive members of the workforce. They're breaking the cycle of poverty. Based on the recent CDBG community assessment, youth employment programs, after-school programs still remain a priority in our community. Glendale Youth Alliance operates 5 programs currently. Last year, we served 450 youth. 2 of our programs are self-sustaining enterprise programs where youth are hired to perform short-term or long-term projects, and the customer is billed an hourly rate for the youth wages. We also have 3 grant-operated programs. One is TEAM, focused on serving high school seniors. Our Employment Incentive Program, focused on serving older youth ages 18 to 21. And the goal of that program is to get them in permanent employment after the training component. And lastly, our Summer Youth Employment Training Program. Our Summer Youth Employment Training Program was funded by Los Angeles County Department of Community and Senior Services this year. It actually started earlier than usual. We had several phases of the program. Phase 1 started April 1st of 2014 till June 30th. We received $188,000 to serve 100 youth, provide 20 hours of personal enrichment training, and 100 hours of work experience. And for the first time, the youth were earning $9 an hour before the minimum wage went up July 1st. Phase 2 began July of 2014 until September. Again, we received funding to serve 100 youth, similar program design as far as the training and paid work experience for the youth. In mid-August, we received an additional $62,000 to serve an additional 40 youth in the summer program. And currently, we're waiting approval from LA County on additional funds that are anticipated to get approved in January, which will extend the program till June of next year. So it'll be a year-round program instead of just the summer program that we're used to operating. The summer program this year had significantly higher funding than previous years. Last year, funding was $125,000. This year, just in phase 1 and 2, we received $410,000 for youth employment activities. And like I mentioned, there's a possibility of the 3rd phase of funding, which is anticipated to be at the $200,000 range at this point. Summer Youth Employment Program was broken down into 2 different components. The younger youth, ages 14 to 16, perform brush clearance on our public hillsides to prevent fires. And the older youth, ages 17 to 21, were placed in different offices, fields, recreation programs, assisting a variety of organizations. GYA provided the following training for summer program participants. The training consisted of career exploration, life skills, work ethics, and financial literacy. The youth participated in a total of 20 hours of training and were compensated $9 per hour for training as well. Here's some pictures of the training. This was at Pacific Community Center. We have 150 youth, I believe, in the first training. They were doing career exploration. We had community partners, professionals come out, speak about their professions. We partnered with Junior Achievement to do the finance park. And at the tail end of our training, the youth participated in the Great American Cleanup Day. And some of the youth actually participated in the painting of the boxes, utility boxes in our community. Some of the services we provide are client-centered, goal-oriented case management. Every youth in our program gets intense case management. Every youth gets paid work experience, they receive training, they have opportunities for scholarships, supportive services, bus tokens, food, worker hire based on need, and referrals to other agencies within the community. Who we serve, mainly at-risk youth, ages 14 to 24 years old, low income from disadvantaged families. Most of the youth are immigrants, have language barriers. Some are homeless, disabled, foster, probation youth. Some of the youth we serve are young parents, sole providers in the household, and 57% of them did indicate that they heard about GYA through word of mouth. Similar to other community services and parks programs, GYA improves the quality of life of the youth and their families by providing summer and year-round opportunities. Youth are off the streets in positive environments. GYA youth assist in maintaining the trails and perform brush clearance to prevent fires on our hillside. Grant youth provide much-needed assistance to the various sections of community services and parks and provide significant financial savings because the grants are paying for the youth wages. As far as challenges are many. There's always uncertainty in grant funding. We were fortunate to have significant increases in our funding this year, but as far as next year, we don't know what the funding levels will look like. Every year we have increased operational expenditures. We have limited staffing. Currently we have 2 full-time staff members, 1 part-time hourly staff member operating 3 grant programs, and just in the summer they were able to serve approximately 250 youth, and during the year they switched their focus and operate the team and employment incentive program. So their caseload is definitely full. They are passionate about serving the youth of our community, and the results of the program speak for themselves. And one of the other challenges is the lack of more opportunities for youth. We always do have more youth that apply for our programs that we're unable to serve. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it.
Looks like you're doing a great job. You're always increasing your funds. Who's your grant writer?
We're actually doing all the grant writing internally right now. We don't have a specific grant writer.
Good job.
But we hope to have one soon.
I have a quick question. So you
Yes.
said last year funding was $125,000,
Yes.
and the program was able to thrive and was able to serve the community and especially the youth. This year you have $410,000 plus another $200,000 that is pending at this point, which will give you about $600,000. So would that be a surplus where you could roll that over to the upcoming years, where you could kind of reserve that? Because like you said, there's uncertainty in funding.
Right. Unfortunately, with grant funds, they have specific deadlines. So the first phase of the summer program started April 1st, and by June 30th, we have to utilize 100% of the funding, or else LA County takes the remaining balance back. So we are set to serve a certain number of youth, and we have to spend 100% of the funding. Phase 2 started July 1, went to September, and we were allocated certain funds for that time period, and then we received the additional $62,000. Now we're waiting for the funding from January to June. But we cannot keep reserves or surplus and roll the funding over to future years. With grant funding, it's very
So
strict.
you can't be saving for rainy days, huh?
No, unfortunately not.
I think this past year is a bit of an anomaly regarding the funding. The county, this funding is actually to serve welfare clients in LA County, and I think they're running a fairly large surplus of that funding, which needs to be spent within the year. And so they contacted the partners within LA County to assist them in the process of spending that funding. So it's very uncertain that that type of funding will come by again in future years.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
7B3, Verdugo Skate Park Annual Report.
Good afternoon, President Fuad, members of the Commission. I'm Gabrielle Golia, the Community Services Supervisor out of the Sports Section. And I'm here today to talk with you about the Verdugo Skate Park evaluation. This is a report from October 1st of 2013 through September 30th of 2014. That reporting period was dictated by the implementation of the new admission fees that we began a few years ago at the skate park. We have just celebrated our 10-year anniversary this year. The park opened in 2004, and on April 12th of 2014, we did have a celebration with the kids. Some of our old staff returned. Adam Porte, if you may remember, our community services specialist, came out and we had some skating competitions, and we had a free skating day at the park for the kids. Everyone was very excited. We had some of the local board shops even donate some prizes for the skate competitions. It was a great day. Use of the Vertigo Skate Park used to be free until August of 2005. We did implement some admission fees to non-resident adults at that point in time. And as a result of budget discussions in October of 2012, the department began charging fees to all participants to help offset the cost of operating the park. We did do a survey of all the participants who entered during the month of July of that year, and 72% of the participants preferred paying a fee over closing the park altogether or keeping it open but unstaffed. They would prefer to pay a fee and have staff there. The Vertigo Skate Park is operated year-round. We are open from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. And during the Glendale Unified School District break, we are open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day long. It's primarily a drop-in facility for skateboarders. They come, the parents drop them off, the kids off in the park. They skate for a couple hours. Sometimes parents stick around and have a picnic. Other times they just drop them off and come back and get them later. And we do have some adults that come and skate throughout the day. But we also do offer some programs. We have skateboard classes for beginners and intermediates. We have a class on primarily Sunday mornings. We also offer an intermediate class on Saturday mornings. And we offer drop-by classes in the afternoons between 4 and 5 p.m. So parents can either register ahead of time for a 6-week class, or they can just drop by for an afternoon. We have a Friday night light program once a month. The kids can come and play video games and skate in the evenings on a Friday night. Gives the parents a chance to do a little date night if they want to drop their kids off at a supervised location. We put up a big projection screen, and the kids can play the video games on the projection screen and then skate. During the summer, we have a traveling skate camp. The kids participate at our park, and then they also travel to other skate parks throughout the Southern California area. Staff coordinate it, and we take them on an excursion once a week with our day camp program. So they go to places like Hurricane Harbor or Universal Studios. We do offer film permits at the location. It's available for rental on a daily rate or an hourly rate. We actually have an upcoming film permit this week, so it is an ongoing venture to try and bring some of our clients in and keep them there. And we have International Go Skateboarding Day. June 21st is an International Skateboarding Day, and every year we throw a party at the skate park for the kids, again, offering free admission for everyone to come in and skateboard and participate in our competitions. 6,049 people entered the park during the 12-month reporting period. That average is about 17 people a day. Last year it was about 18 people a day, so it's a little lower, but nothing too significant. 68% of our participants are youth, and 68% of our participants also buy an annual pass rather than paying the daily rate. They just buy a pass for the whole year. There is a correction. The entrance fee number should be $15,937 netted in entrance fees. Our total staffing cost with both the general fund and the enterprise fund this reporting period was $89,878. That's down a little bit from last year. We've made some staffing adjustments in order to save a little bit in money. And our maintenance and operation costs were $20,275. That's up $1,000 from last year. And that primarily comes from increase in our traveling skate camp participants, and it costs more to get into the entrance parks or into the theme parks. We did bring in $32,671 in revenue, and the skate park does operate in the enterprise fund at a loss of $34,000. That is, the department realizes a profit in the enterprise fund and other programs, and we know that this program is operating at a loss, and we're doing so knowing that it's a service we want to continue providing, and so we cover that loss with profits from other programs. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. You say that about 17 entrants a day?
That's the average.
So at any given time, there's roughly how many people skating?
It depends on the time of day. If it's early on a Saturday morning, there might be 1 or 2 people in there. It ramps up throughout the day, and we might get 10, 12 at a time in the middle of the day.
Is there like sort of a recommended capacity or a maximum?
I don't know off the top of my head what the capacity is, but it's far higher than our average daily
I
participation.
mean, it seems a little light, to be honest.
It is. Yeah, we did see a great loss of participants when we started charging the entrance fees.
And what is the daily fee?
The fee is $3 per youth for the day, or they can buy an annual pass for $40. And adults are $5, or they can buy an annual pass for, I believe, $75.
And I'm assuming people have done the analysis, fee versus number of people, and this is sort of just right in your view?
Yes, it's there are some skate parks that charge fees. Other skate parks, many of them are free. We faced possibly shuttering the skate park altogether or charging a minimal fee. So this was the fee that we settled on in order to help just offset some of the costs. As you can see in the report, doesn't come close to covering our costs. But
like you said, 72% would rather pay a fee rather than have it show.
Yeah.
Which Friday is it that you have the? Which Friday is it? Like first Friday or?
It's the fourth Friday.
Fourth Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does other cities charge fees to enter, like Burbank or other city, Pasadena?
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head which do. We did do a survey when we created the fees a few years ago. I know that a number of the parks are still free, like a lot down on the beach are free for people to get in. But some of the local cities do charge a minimal fee. Ours was comparable to the other cities that were charging a fee, a few dollars entrance.
We have supervision at all time.
Yes. We have 2 staff on duty at all times when we're open.
And what type of accidents we have? What's
The typical accidents are bruises, bumps and bruises and scrapes. We do get a few broken collarbones or broken ankles from kids falling, very typical of skate parks. It's an inherent risk when people are choosing to skateboard. And luckily the parents understand that, and everyone does sign a release of liability when they enter. That's part of the staff duty, is to ensure that everyone has signed a release of liability and their parents have signed one as well.
It's a beautiful skate park. It's known statewide. So.
Yeah, I just wish it had more people, but I guess it is what it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Can we increase it? What's the solution?
I think, unfortunately, in the current fiscal environment with the fees that we're charging, it's difficult to increase participation. Short of finding funding to continue operating it without offsetting it with admission fees, I am not sure.
And you need two supervisors, one's not sufficient?
Yes, the office is not located right at the gate to the skate park, so there's a staff person in the office who is checking people in, verifying that they have their release of liability forms and collecting the fees in a safe environment. And then there's a staff person actually out in the park checking to make sure that they have their entrance bracelets on and enforcing the rules inside the park.
There's no way of somehow combining that or moving something or somebody?
We've tried it. We actually tried it for a few months right when we changed over to see if we could do it. And the fear is that if there is an accident that requires extricating someone from a bowl, that one staff person is not enough to handle an emergency.
Okay. You've obviously thought about it.
If we waive the fees and we find the sponsors for, would that increase the attendance?
I believe it would, yes. We've had a couple of potential sponsors step forward and ask us about it, and we have followed up with them. Unfortunately, nothing has panned out at this point in time.
Are you giving naming rights?
I don't know. We'll come back to you for a recommendation on it.
Good idea, actually.
Yeah, well, why not? The Staples skate park. Anything else? Well, then thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Sure. Actually, President Fod, the record will reflect that Commissioner Khan left the meeting during item 7B3. The next item is 7B4, Civic Auditorium Annual Report.
Good afternoon, President Ford, members of commission. My name is Laura Delian. I'm the community services supervisor overseeing the civic auditorium, the building operations, and the events at the civic auditorium. And I'm here today to present the annual report of what already is in your packets. And it's my report. The civic auditorium was built in 1937 and was the largest, at the time, was the largest municipal building on the West Coast. The civic rents the upper and the lower auditoriums to residents, event coordinators, entrepreneurs, and hosts city-sponsored events. It is also the location for a shelter during emergency operations. The Civic Upper Auditorium is about 11,000 square feet and accommodates up to 1,100 people, theater seating, about 800 people, banquet seating with a large dance floor. The lower auditorium has a unique setup with a sunken middle dance floor. The designated capacity is 600 people. Both auditoriums have adjacent designated parking areas with immediate entrances to the auditorium. They have full commercial kitchens, dressing rooms, lobby foyer area for additional settings, and breakout rooms, the terrace room for upstairs, and the conference room for downstairs, accommodating up to 120 people. Also, the Community Services Park Department's Customer Service Office and the Special Events Program Office is also located at the Civic Auditorium. The two parkings in total have about 495 car spaces, and we charge $6 per car space upon entry to our events, generating additional profit for the Civic Auditorium. Since 1937, Civic Auditorium has been renovated twice, in 1964 and in 1997, and was due for restoration of some important aspects of the building to enhance its value, increase its useful life, and in order to provide full service to those who rent the facility for their events. Several major improvement projects were completed at the Civic Auditorium since 2013, which assured that services provided to our customers were uninterrupted. The Civic Auditorium entire roof replacement was completed in 2013, and the cooling tower replacement was completed in August and allowed the Civic Auditorium to provide conditioning during the events. This was done before adding entire air conditioning replacement, which is still going to happen upcoming year. Another major project was the Civic Auditorium traffic and parking booth area improvements. Traffic signage inside and outside of the parking structure were updated, bumpers added in pedestrian crossing areas, new removable bollards installed, fire hydrant relocated from the edge of the curb to eliminate any possible accidents. Damaged booth at the Civic Auditorium was finally removed and replaced with plants, benches added at the entrance, trees trimmed, and plants added, making the entrance more inviting and safe. Upcoming major projects scheduled at the Civic Auditorium in the near future are the entire air conditioning replacement and exterior improvements, including painting of the building to highlight architectural features, replacement of exterior lighting fixtures, enhancement of south entrance, and major landscaping. This will improve visual charm and of the historic building and will attract new customers for their events. In 2013-2014, we had 208 events. Some of them were 2-3 days events. Out of these 208 events, 26 were city-sponsored, non-revenue activities, such as GUSD events, city holiday employee parties, mayor's prayer breakfast. Other privately rented revenue-producing events included trade shows, conventions, sport activities, ballroom dances, dinner dances, blood drives, festivals, private events such as weddings, birthday parties, presentations. The indoor soccer program was launched at the Civic Auditorium in June 2013 and since then became a permanent favorite location for many private groups and leagues for their regular practices and games. The indoor soccer program is operated Monday through Thursday and depending on auditorium availability and customer demands. Having indoor soccer at the Civic Auditorium is a great opportunity to offer recreational leisure services to our public. Another new major public event at the Civic Auditorium was Glendale Health Festival, and this last Saturday we had their annual festival that attracted over 2,000 people. It was one-day event with over 2,000 people at the Civic Auditorium. It was very successful. The Civic operations staff supports on average 36 off-site city events for deliveries, providing services such as to cruise night delivery, roast floats, food trucks on Thursdays, Crime Stoppers barbecues, canines in parks, annual employee potluck, groundbreaking ceremonies, Relay for Life, Glendale Beautiful dinners, State of Schools events, and of course, again, GUSD activities. Each of these deliveries require equipment to be transported to and from events with the Civic Auditorium part-time operations staff handling all transportation, setup, and tear-down activities. The delivery equipment includes heavy tables, chairs, canopies, public address system, stage risers, podiums, etc., barricades, etc. The Civic Auditorium presently advertises actively via City Glendale meme website, online directories, facility publications, and wedding planners. Staff also reached out to former clients of the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium when it closed down, contacting them individually and providing them with the Glendale Civic Auditorium presentations. And also the Civic Auditorium advertises through their informational booths at various special events to further advertise the facility. As an enterprise operations, the Civic Auditorium has been operating at a loss for many years. However, over the last years, the yearly deficit has decreased from $433,500 to $113,443, reducing by over $320,000. We are very proud to say that this was due to the civic staff hard work and carefully monitoring our expenses and utilities. More strategic and aggressive marketing has brought in new events such as tent circuses, sports events, and new types of public expos and festivals, generating on average from $5,000 to $7,000 per event. Those events include circuses. We had Circus Caballeros, Ramos Brothers circuses, Art of Box event that recently just came back, Shimmy Quake LA Belly Dance Festival, California World Guitar Show, Paperback Collector Show, Book Show, Hollywood Drum Festival. Staff anticipates similar or better fiscal year, hopefully in 2014 and 2015, as many of these events have returned or are scheduled to return in the current fiscal year. Additionally, staff is continuing to look for ways to save in labor and utilities in the future. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I commend the staff for that's quite an increase, or decrease, I should say, in expenses.
Next item, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 7B5, monthly activity reports at A, Recreation and Community Services.
President Fad, if I may, I would like to suggest, in the interest of time, that we go directly to the Park Services monthly activity report. And the reason I want to do that is because we have slides which I think really tell a lot of the special projects that the Park Services staff, whom we were talking about earlier in this meeting, do in between their regular routines of mowing and blowing and pruning in the parks. You'd be surprised how many special little projects we have to address in between the routine stuff. And again, I think Mr. Panosian's slides really tell the story. Then the other monthly activity reports are more routine, and I think the written reports speak for themselves. Unless you have questions, maybe we don't have to make an oral presentation on the rest of the monthly activity reports.
But I agree completely. That's good.
Okay.
So let's see the pictures.
If I may, I'll just read into the record the other activity reports and say that that you don't have any questions.
That would, unless somebody has any questions, that would be fine. Thanks. Uh-huh.
So 7B5B was Trails and Open Space, 7B5C Workforce Development, and that brings us to 7B5D Park Services.
Thank you, President Fuad. The presentation, the pictorial presentation will start shortly. What you will see in the written presentation is that we covered the months of August and September, and the following commission meeting will cover October and November as far as the number of work orders and the hours we expended. This actually encompasses a couple of months' worth of projects, and we do select which ones to present because there are too many to highlight for you. One of the projects was over at Fremont Park, followed by two other ones was playground fiber installation. As you know, annually we do this task to make sure we have our playground safe and the proper surface leveling so individuals do not get hurt. You can see there's 150 cubic yards of fiber that is delivered to the site. That is a lot of fiber because Fremont is one of the largest playgrounds that we have. And we have a truck that brings it and backs in, dumps it down. We had heavy equipment that our staff operates, brings in. You can see the tractors, the little loaders, to be able to move it from one side of the play area to the other one, open the hatch, dump it out, and start kind of leveling in the areas of the play area.
What is the substance again? What is this?
It's fiber. It is playground surfacing. It is treated wood that is ADA accessible, and it is so that if a kid falls from a specific height on a playground, it provides cushioning so that it might get bruises or whatnot, but it limits the heavier injuries that they might.
Is it wood chips?
It technically it's something considered to be wood chips, but these are treated, so that's why we refer to them as fiber. Same concept, but it doesn't have the green. If you're just doing the typical mulch, doesn't have the green leaves or whatnot on there. It's more specific to do the job for surfacing. And staff will, as you note, will kind of start moving around to the fall zones at the heights of the play area. And the next one was along the same time at the Wilson Mini Park. Same concept, truck brings it in, backs it down, and staff loads in areas and levels. And next was Windsor Mini Park. Again, these are the smaller parks, but we tend to annually fill in the fiber. And once we're done, you end up having a very nice, clean, flush look that anyone, even in a wheelchair, will be able to easily access all the play features that we have at the site. We have made some landscape renovations at the Casa Adobe. We tend to do that very frequently. This was in front of the museum where the landscape we tend to replace. We have special events at this site. It's good for weddings and pictures, and we like to make sure it looks the part. So staff tends to plant drought-tolerant planting in this area and even the little sundial area and just kind of change it up occasionally to be able to give it a different look with the seasons. On Brand Boulevard, we took on this challenge at Brand Boulevard. This is the intersection of Brand and Glen Oaks. There were some planters that did not have, that the landscaping or the plants were planted in there were dead. So we went inside first, removed all the plants, and got the soil prepped for a new landscaping. As you know, north and east, east and west side of Brand Boulevard, just south of Glen Oaks. And we selected some nice agave types of plants because these are, water resistant. They're not require as much water once they're established. So staff will dig out the proper holes, take them out of their little containers, plant them in, refill the soil, compact it, get it watered down, and voila. And these are, if you drive up north on Brand, you'll see it on both sides of the street. And this is just a view of the completed project. Chess Park, we took on this challenge at the Chess Park. Some of the planters at Chess Park had, bare spots, trees or shrubs that had died. We worked with the Coalition Glendale, Clean and Beautiful Clean and Beautiful Glendale group had some grant funding awarded to them, and they like to improve facilities, and they recommended, it asked us to do the renovation improvement over at the Chess Park. So we elected to, as you note, this is what it looked like before. We elected to work with the group and, using their funding to get this area, the irrigation redone and get it ready for the planting, and identified some drought-tolerant plants that go in the front and similar type of planting that we had for the backdrop. Staff got it all planted, and with the wood chip, it does give it a very nice, beautiful, distinct finish when you're done.
Looks nice.
And the irrigation has been improved to be more efficient in this area, so we're not going to be watering and spraying over on the concrete. Of course, every time you do irrigate and you do plant, there needs to be more closer attention to it. So we thank Clean and Beautiful Glendale for their funding support to get this project completed.
That bark?
Yes, it is. That is bark.
Nice.
They tend to be at they're higher quality, they're finer looking material, but of course the cost along with it comes, just like some of the bark material we have outside. And these are some of the other little minor tree planter spots that we plugged in.
Those little circles on the planters and that, what are those? Are those wells?
These?
What are those little round things?
Those are for watering.
The water comes out or it goes?
Goes in.
Sorry?
Goes in for water, to water the tree, deep root watering.
Is it a bubbler type thing?
Correct.
Is it subterranean?
Yes. Well, subterranean only to get to the roots to establish the tree. The next project we'd like to highlight is over at the Riverwalk. This area of the Riverwalk is just west of the arena. It's two different fencing. We have you see the front fencing right over here. That is the property line fencing. Technically, the property apparently extends right over here, and we put this fencing in so the neighbors not necessarily backing into our original fencing. So to split the two and give them enough turnaround and not have any damage to our existing fencing. But as you note, the landscaping had overgrown and it really became a nuisance. So we directed staff to get inside, and this is the whole stretch from the entrance all the way to where the horse arena ends. So we directed staff to get inside and do a major cleanup of all the landscaping between the two property lines. You see that one line is just a nice brick wall that was at the entrance to that driveway. And once staff got in, got it all cleaned out. And this is the driveway going up from a different angle from inside the facility. And this is the location where we have the chain link fencing to allow for their turnaround area, for their parking lot, for the neighbors. And once we had it cleaned out, most of the areas that didn't have concrete, we went inside and put in the same type of bark mulch material to give it a very nice, clean look. And this is the final outcome.
Very nice.
Any questions? It's always fun to see new stuff.
Yes. President Fod, Commissioners, the only comment I would like to leave you with is you will begin to see more mulch or bark, fewer plants, but more drought-tolerant plants. We have a strategic goal that we filed with the city manager where within this fiscal year, 15% of our plantings will be converted to drought-tolerant plantings. You can actually see some examples here on the City Hall campus where we're starting to do that. That's one of our strategic goals.
Good.
We make it look good. For sure.
Is there anything else? Well, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So done?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks you.